Okay, now in this third tutorial, we're going to think about recording the information and just how you're going to keep up with all the data that you're gathering for a speech or for a research project. Again, I'm suggesting that you make this decision before you actually start doing the research. Keep in mind that there are three strategic decisions you want to make about how you're going to go about your work before you actually start doing the research for your speech. How are you going to cite the information? So what information you'll have to gather from each source that you find in order to cite it appropriately, both in a works cited page in academic style, but also orally in an oral footnote. How you're going to record the data that you found and keep up with that, and then how to access the resources of the web for what you're doing for the project that you got going on. So when we talk about recording the information, we're just going to talk about putting together your notes for the information, the research that you find. Now, back in the old days, we'd go to the library and we would take off the shelf a book. This is from The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge. And we would read the book, we would find what we were looking for, and then we would do something with it. Now, I was growing up before the age of really ubiquitous computer access. We would be instructed to put together note cards. The first thing you would do is you would find a source and you would write what was called a bib card, otherwise known as a bibliography card. And you would put down the information from the publication in a correct bibliographic form. And the bib card then would be referenced to the note cards. As you came across something that you wanted to keep up with, a quotation or statistic or other form of supporting material, you would record that on another note card, and then you would write the author's name, and if you've got more than one source by that person, perhaps the date of the publication, and then the page number. And the incredible advantages to doing this kind of research even today. One, it just gets you in the habit of always getting the bibliographic material when you put your hands on a source. Second thing is it helps you to process the information when it's in your hand for the first time. And you remember back in the first tutorial, I strongly suggested that you do that once you get your hands on a source, before you start making copies of it or before you start checking it out and then convincing yourself to take it home, look at the material, see if it actually fits what you're looking for or that you can understand it, able to use it. The other advantage is that the cards are easy to sort. You can put your hands on them. You can group them based on what they're talking about, and then it becomes much easier to actually write a speech. And assuming that you've got the note cards anywhere, you can work on them anywhere. You can go from library to internet to coffee shop to interview, and you can produce that. That you can have that available to you to work on. The disadvantages, of course, one, just handwriting cramps. It gets tiring writing that much stuff. And as you can see from my handwriting here, some people's handwriting is illegible. It's slow, and then you're eventually going to have to type this all into something. And so there's a level of redundancy that occurs here. But keep the advantages in mind. You want to find a way of recording your information that insists that you get the bibliographic material when you get the source, that you begin to process it as it's in your hand for the first time, something that you're going to be able to manipulate around to construct your speech, and something that gives you the chance to work on it in multiple places. Keep those advantages in mind. A second way of doing this would be to use a word processor. You just word process your notes. This is a topic on hand washing, a source that I found, and it's cited in, I think, MLA format. And this is exactly what I would do for a topic on hand washing. I would get the bibliographic information accurately cited, put it at the top of a set of quotations, and then as I'm working through the material, I would either type in or copy, cut, and paste into the document the quotations that I'm finding that I would want to use later. Now, keep in mind that you don't actually want to quote nearly as much as you do in your notes in actual speech. My general rule is you quote when the author or the source has said something better than you're going to be able to come up with it on your own. Really powerful statements. But in terms of doing the research, it's good to maybe start off with the quotation so that you get it right, and then you can work on putting it into your own words or explaining that a little bit later. You can do a couple of different ways of word processing. Of course, the Word is on almost every computer, but if you put it on a Word document, then you have to figure out how do you get it from one computer to the next. You're going to email it to yourself. You're going to constantly carry around a thumb drive and have it stored on a thumb drive. How are you going to have access to that? Another option would be to use something like Google Docs, which is an online word processor. It's a web-based software program. This means that the software is available on the web, not on your computer, and the document that you create in a Google Doc is on the internet rather than in your computer, which gives you the ability to work on it anywhere you've got an internet connection. Google Docs are also great because you're able to collaborate and with other people. You can share that document and they can change that specific document. But either way you go, word processors, you're going to want to put all of your research into one document, generally speaking, unless you're working on a big document. But you don't want to have to try to sift through a bunch of smaller documents with one or two pieces of supporting material on each document. You want to create larger documents. Make sure that you keep the correct bibliographic information at the top of the entry. So when you turn in your research assignments to me, your persuasive speech research assignment, this is the kind of thing I'm going to be expecting you to do. I'm going to be expecting to see 6 sources cited in a document, correctly cited, and then below that, at least one piece of supporting material from that source with the correct page number. The advantages to word processing: there's no real learning curve. Most of us know how to use a word processor. It gets it all in one place. It reduces redundancy because eventually you're going to have to put this in a works cited page or something else, so it's already in a word processor where you can put it together in an outline and a works cited page. The disadvantage of word processing: it creates some large documents that are hard to sift through later, and can be just time consuming to go back through and look for that quotation that you were looking for earlier. So let's look at a different option. And that would be using some form of notes organizer. This is a picture of Evernote, which I've been using. Evernote's not specifically created for doing academic research. It's really any kind of note card process that you want to, reminders, but you want to be strategic about what you use and how you go about gathering this information so that you can use it not just for this speech, but then also think about maybe needing to use it for another assignment or another report that you have later on in time.